What the flip is up with a lie? That's up next on What the Flip. What's up? I'm your host, Vic Vogel. I recently was in a conversation with a person who obviously supported someone, but when queried about the person's lying, struggled with their willingness to accept the lie. They basically said they liked this person, but really wished the person wouldn't lie. They were struggling with someone they liked, but was finding them difficult to accept because of their lying, along with some other behaviors, both of which basically violated this person's values and belief systems. Well, this got me thinking, so what is it about a lie? I've often wondered about the problem with lies, given nearly everyone tells a lie. Lies are most affiliated with religious beliefs. But do all religions, I'll put that link below in the description, we have the answer for the religions that compose the vast majority of religious people in the